hope you guys are doing well.
Hello, everybody.
Lovely to see you all today. How are you going, Anthony?
Doing wonderful. Well, how are you doing today?
That's good. That's good. Same day. No, different day. Different. Is the microphone off? Okay. Is yours on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, mine is on. Can you guys hear me now? Okay, great. So, what are we going to do today? Now, this is our 9th lesson, okay? And then we're going to move on to our 10th lesson of the young group, which is the last lesson. The 9th lesson today is going to be a bit of a roundup, okay? Because we're now going to enter into the groups called, the study groups or and so on. So what we need to really do is just get our foundations right as to how we're going to enter the group and how we're going to integrate in there. Okay, so it's just like, warming up, letting you guys know what's happening and so on. So nothing to be really stressed about. It's all really easy actually, because all the guys are there to help you guys out anyway. And we have a bunch of coordinators for the groups. So everybody's going to be helping you out. No dramas there at all. But it's good to have these foundations before we enter. So today we're not going to do a workshop, but I do want the study to be interactive, okay? So as we talk about things, I'd like anyone who has a question, a query, something not understood, something not settled, something blurry, misty, whatever, to raise your hand and let's talk about it here and clarify everything on Zoom, okay? Now, before we carry on though, remember when you're talking on Zoom, you're going to turn on your microphone, but when you're not talking, your microphone must be off. Okay, so let's not forget that, because otherwise we get all kinds of interferences around. All right, and if you have also any questions but you can't talk or your microphone is not working, please drop us a line and then we'll carry on from there. Now, as you guys all know, the group's principles are based on the articles of Rabash. This is the book. In fact, the first 15, 20 articles really sum it up for us. And this is why they're very important. So Rabash's Social Writings is the most important book in deciphering how we need to relate to each other and what actually the framework of these relationships, the dynamics of a group relationship is all about. Obviously, we can't go through these 15, 20 articles today in one lesson, but we've done a good job of going over them in the second semester, as you recall. Because in the second semester, all we really talked about was how to connect in the group. And this is very essential because the whole of reality is actually felt and perceived inside of us through the connections that we have with what is seemingly outside of us. And the majority of the feelings and sensations that we always have as humans is caused by the interaction between people. Thus, henceforth, the interaction in the group is very, very important if we want to attain something that should be felt outside of us, known as the Creator. And in order for us to do that, we need to have a certain approach to each other, a certain way of relating to things that happen to us and how they should be reflected on our relationships. So in Kabbalah, we have two things to really do, actually. One is, if you guys can take notes, it's good as well. The first thing we do is study, don't we? Okay, this is why we have everyday lessons. And the second thing that we do is we have group interaction. Group interaction. This is basically all kind of interaction that we do, from congresses to meals to gathering of friends to, I don't know, any kind of unity event, group interaction and study. Let's say study in Kabbalah. And group interactions. So we need to establish a nice nice founded approach to both of these things so we can stick our heads into the group and understand how these group dynamics are really working. You guys already know about it, but I just want to summarize everything. So studying the wisdom of Kabbalah, in terms of studying the books and the materials and the lessons, are very important, because what I have to do, just like any kid that's growing up in this world is learning about the world all the time, I have to study something that teaches me about the spiritual worlds, even though I don't see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, or touch it. Just like we sometimes teach our kids concepts that they can't really get their hands on, but we give them a conceptual thing, and then afterwards they can work towards that concept. And same in the wisdom of Kabbalah, we're working towards the attainment of the spiritual phenomena. Even though we don't feel it at the moment, we have a methodic, let's say, studying approach that will get us closer and closer. So this is the let's call it the lesson, studying Kabbalah. Well, this is the material, okay, the know-how. Oops, let's write that a bit clearer. This is the know-how. And the group interaction should be the practical side of the work. Kind of like learning, kind of like going to medical school, right? I first learn anatomy, and then I have to do some practical work onto it. So they bring us some bodies from the morgue, and so we can do some practical work on it. We can like chop them up and see what's really inside, okay? And this is how it is. So the practical work is inside the group. In the previous lesson last week, you will recall that I did mention that a study framework, a spiritual framework, is very important for all of us. How much to study, how much I'm going to do, what I'm going to do, and when I'm going to do. When am I going to study, and how much I want to study, and so on. Now, those are all up to the individual, obviously. It's just like going to a gym, right? You make up a timetable. You say on Monday I'm going to come in, on Wednesday I'm going to come in, on Friday I'm going to come in. The rest of the days I might not come in. Or you might be an intense person with a real stiff goal, like going down to, I don't know, you want to drop your body fat, let's say, to 8% and be really radical. So you'll say, I'm going to work out Monday to Sunday. Okay? So everybody has different strokes for different folks. So everybody has their own kind of way of, setting up their own timetable. So each of us, all of us, though, should build a fixed timetable for ourselves. Whether it's once a week, once a month, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, or once every 2 months, I don't know. Okay? But everybody should, so that everyone knows that they have some kind of a framework that will, that will move them along, that will progress them. That's one thing. And the second thing that we're going to talk about today a lot more is the practical work. How we're going to connect inside the group, and what our relationships should be. How should we relate to each other? What should our attitudes towards each other be? What kind of a direction should we be taking when we're treating the friends, when we're interacting with the friends? Okay? And that's what we're going to touch on. So this is, basically the two sides of the study. One, the know-how, we study the material, and the second part is, in order to live the material, I've got to do something practical, and that's the group work. Are we all good up to here? Right? If you are, say yes, we're doing great. Okay, lovely, wonderful. So let's take a look at the practical work. Okay? So the practical work is in the group. Practical work is the group. Okay. The group. Now this is, like I said, very important, because all of the things we're learning from the sources somehow need to turn into an emotion, which I can then relate to that emotion, to that sensation, through what I learnt intellectually, which will give me the opportunity to reconcile and understand the feelings and emotions I'm going through with my mind. Does that make sense? Okay, we learn something in theory, we apply it, then we can reconcile them. The feeling must be understood afterwards by my intellect, because if I don't understand the emotions I'm going through, that's going to make me a very unstable, emotionally unstable person. In life, isn't it like that as well? In life, when we go through an emotional drama, we become very unbalanced, don't we? Sometimes we don't know what to do with ourselves. Our mind is blurry. We can't find direction. Why? Because we went through something emotional which we can't really fathom in our minds. So what we want to do is to keep them both balanced. And that's the whole idea. This is why we have two legs, by the way. If you're wondering why we got 2 arms and 2 legs, because we have the mind and the emotion, and we must use them both together. This is why we walk on 2 legs, right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot. I feel, I understand. I feel, I understand. And this is how spiritual development has to be. And in order to feel something, I need to interact. If I don't interact, there's really no feeling that's going to come out of it. So the practical work in the group, we already know what we do in the group from our previous lesson. Okay? In the last lesson, I said the things we do in the group is we study together, we have meals together, we have gathering of friends together, we have congresses together, and we disseminate together. Dissemination means, by the way, not going out there onto the streets and telling people about the wisdom of Kabbalah. No, dissemination means helping other people to advance in spirituality, and also making the material available for anyone who's looking for the meaning of life. So our dissemination is a very passive one. It's just a matter of making things available for anyone who's looking for them, who wants to know the meaning of life. But we never go out there onto the streets or to the public and start talking to them about the wisdom of Kabbalah. Okay, that's a no-no. So that is also an activity. The reason we do this activity is we engage in the material. What's the best way to engage in a material is if I want to take something out of it and maybe write an article about it. Or I read something, and if I know a second language, I can translate it to another language and make it available to another person. That's helping somebody else. But the most benefit of doing that is actually getting into the material and working with the material. And I'll tell you, anybody bilingual here? Okay, if you're bilingual and if you're fluent in another language, for example, you can translate to your language, and that's a very beneficial thing. All right, because for example, I speak 3 languages to the mother tongue level, and I translated since I started, and that helped me a lot. Because then you're in the material all the time, you're working on the material, you're translating it, you're really absorbing it, and then from that absorption, you can really have, you can really come up with some really deeper discernments. So dissemination activities that we also do. So let's write them down. Practical work in the group is study. The meals are very important. Okay, as important as all of these are very important. Okay, the gathering of friends. Gathering of friends.
Those meals are really important. That's my opinion. I'm sorry.
Thanks for underlining that for us, Anthony. And I forgot what I was going to say now. The gathering of friends and dissemination. Okay, good. Good on you. Dissemination. You should give us a bit more input, Anthony. You're very, very quiet. You're letting me do all the hard work.
I was sitting here just looking at the friends' faces here, and amazing.
And getting a good impression.
Yeah. Down in South Africa, they have this stuff, they call it with chutney. Wow, man. Chutney. Amazing stuff, yeah.
Okay.
That's very important, too, for meals, but I kind of ran out, so I have to go buy some more.
Oh, well, you should give them already a tip to send you one with FedEx. Okay? All right, there you go. Dilis is shaking her head. Good.
It goes perfect with sausage. But get back to class.
Let's get back to class.
Yes,
all right, so these are the main activities that we have, right? Study, the meals, gathering of friends, and dissemination. We can also call this gathering of friends, gathering of friends are also congresses, which, as you know, we've got one coming up in New Jersey, congresses. And we have a lot of mirror congresses all around Europe as well, also in Ghana and South Africa. So, it's, these are times when we really come together. So these are the practical things we do in the group. Now, when we do the practical things in the group, the studying, the gathering of friends, the dissemination, or other activities, we can have other activities as well. Sometimes we all go out for, we all go, what was it? We go to a picnic or something. Other activities, okay? It doesn't matter what we do with the group. All of these activities are only for one thing. It is to develop our approach and how we relate to the friends according to the teachings of Rabash. So today we're just going to run a little summary of how we should be relating to the friends and what that should be giving us. So in all our activities, we have two things that we have two things to do. One is we should get an inner discernment, and accordingly we should do inner work. Oops, sorry about that, guys. Inner work, because everything is inside a person, isn't it? So I should have some inner discernments, and then my inner work should be to evaluate what I'm going through and how to relate it to my life and to my spiritual progress. Let's summarize. You guys know as well. Why don't you guys throw me a few ideas? What did Rabash teach us? How should we treat the friends? Because somebody raise your hand, and then I'll say a name, and you guys tell me a principle. Okay, go on, Claire. Go on.
To treat everybody as if they have already reached attainment. You're not focusing on any of their dodgy traits or stuff that winds you up. You're focusing as if that person is their best perfect self already, so that they can then reach that state more easily.
Okay, see everyone in their final correction. Okay, in other words, all my friends are corrected and I'm the only one with the flaw. See everyone in their final correction. Who else? Somebody else? Come on guys, don't be shy. We've known each other for months now. Give me a few hands here. Otherwise you're going to have to listen to me all day long, and that's not very cool. Yes, anyone? Otherwise I'm going to pick names. Shall I be the bad teacher? You know, the one who always picks names. And
look at Michael up there in the corner. He looks like he just has an answer for us.
Michael looks...
Look, you see that smile on his face?
Michael looks like those guys who sit at the back with their heads down all the time. Go on, Michael, give us an idea. How should we treat the friends in the group?
Right. So I think I was going to actually copy Claire's answer. But we should treat them with respect. We should listen to them. And I guess listening is pretty important. And I think that's my main point for now.
Thanks, Michael.
Okay. I'm going to pick. Nobody's talking. I'm picking. I'm going to be the bad teacher. Lenny, go on, tell us something.
They are the brains, and I am the hands.
Oh.
Well, losing myself.
Okay.
Search for the desire in the center. Something, yeah.
Group.
The rest slipped my mind.
It's good. It's good. We see when we all come together. You see, it doesn't matter if we forget. If all the friends are together, everyone puts in one idea, we'll get it all right. That's the beauty about connection. I don't have to know anything. I just have to know one thing. And everybody knows one thing, and then we know everything that everybody knows, which is the entire wisdom. All right, so don't be afraid of not knowing. Don't be afraid. You know, this is not a test or anything. Okay, the reason I'm doing this is very important, because all of us remember just one thing, let's say. But if all the guys remember one thing, we've got this book. That's it. It's packed. It's in our heads already. All right? So when we all come together, we'll find the right answers. And this is really the message I'm trying to give today. All right? Jose, did he raise his hand up? Jose, go on.
We got one request to repeat the question.
Okay.
And the question was, how do you treat the friends in the group, correct?
That's right. How do we treat the friends in the group correctly according to what we learned from Rabash? Jose, did you want to say something? I saw you raise your hand or something. No?
Jose, you got to unmute.
The friends are better than me, always. I'm service of the friends. And they are always better than me. I'm sure of that. Thank you.
That's because I am serving the friends because I see them always higher. Because I always see them greater. Greater than myself. Greater than me. That's good. Okay. Anybody else?
Enoch, what are you doing over there? Speak to us, Enoch.
Okay, all right. My goodness.
Does microphone go?
Enoch, fix your mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect.
Hello?
Yeah, we hear you. We hear you.
Yes. Okay. Some of the guys have said the answer. What I'm about to say. I think you should treat friends in the group by showing respect to them and listening carefully, listening more than actually you speak. So I think for now that's what I can say. Thank you.
Perfect.
Okay, so we can reword that. If I'm listening to the friends more than myself, what does that mean? It means I'm annulling myself, aren't I? I'm pacifying myself. So I'm listening to the friend more and I'm kind of bringing myself low. So we can reword that. We can say nullify myself to the group. Yes. What does that mean? It means I put my ego aside. Okay, so I put my ego aside. Okay, good. We're going forward. I put my ego aside.
Let's pick another. Let's see. One of these ladies over here, Mel. Let's see. Mel, can you? Oh, okay. Perfect. She just unmuted. Perfect.
Always to agree with a friend. Always agree with a friend.
Agree with the friends. That's right. That's good. If all of the friends agree, they find the center of the circle. Okay? Because everybody nullified themselves and everybody brought their opinion and everybody annulled to the opinion of the group, and they'll find the center of the group there, which is where the creator is, by the way. Agree with the friends. Okay, this is again nicely goes in with nullifying myself to the friends. That's good.
Who's next? Mirjana. Hello.
Yes, I think Hello, everybody. I think to put friends above me and be together to achieve the arut.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Put the friends before me to achieve arut, to achieve mutual responsibility. Let's call it. Okay, guys. Worst case scenario, if you ever forget, okay, how to treat the friends, okay, what are you going to do? Two things you can do. One, read Rabash and figure it out. And two is always ask the friends, okay, because we ask each other, we all of a sudden have a bunch of answers. Okay, great. So let's make a short summary according to what we learned from Rabash, okay? Let's make a summary of how to treat the friends, how to relate to the friends in the group. One, I have to see the friends great. I have to see the friends great. Because if I don't see them as great, I can't nullify myself. If they're not great in my eyes, I can't nullify myself. How do I see the friends great though? If I look at everyone here, how am I supposed to see you guys great? I mean, if I'm looking at everybody here, I'm thinking, come on, who's great? We're all great because we've got a dot in the heart. And never forget that. That's the most important thing. The friends are great because they carry a part in them that belongs to the Creator. And that is the most amazing thing they have. So that's why I don't look at their faces. I don't need to remember their names and their faces at all. But when we're together, we must remember this one critical point. They all carry something that the Creator gave them. And that's the most magical thing. It's the most precious thing. And that is what I value. Because without that point in the others, there's no way I'm going to make it. This is why the friends are so great. They all carry that spark. So this is why I have to see the friends great. Because of their dots in the heart. Because of their dots in the heart. Okay? Very important. So we don't care what their color is. We don't care what their religion is. We don't care what their earthly character and personality is. We're above all that. We just care about their aspiration for spirituality. And that is also the thing that makes us all equal. Sometimes we need to understand that in the group, there's equality. Why are we equal? Equal. Everyone is equal. Equality. Why? Because everybody has a dot in the heart. Although we're all different, we're all equal because of that simple aspect. All right, it's a very important point to remember. So their faces are not important. Who has control over how they look? Okay, we were born this way. There's nothing you can do about it. Okay, we were born this way. We're created this way. This is how we are. And that's perfectly fine for everyone, regardless of where they're from, what their religion is. This is why the wisdom of Kabbalah is such an amazing thing. It has the power to connect everyone in the world, regardless of what they are, who they are, where they're from. And you can actually witness it right here. All right, so equality among the friends is very important. We must understand nobody's above the other. We're all equals. Thirdly, okay, I have to nullify myself. Okay, because I can't see the friends as great. I can't love them if I don't nullify my personal love. So I should nullify my self-love. My self-love. Because the more I love myself, what does self-love mean? Okay, self-love mean, if you look at the dictionary, okay, the Oxford Dictionary, you'll find that self-love is the value that a person gives himself. If I give myself more value, where am I going to take that from? I'm going to take that from the value of somebody else. Okay, that's what self-value is. If I'm increasing my self-value, I have to take it from the value I'm giving others. This is why if I want to increase the love between the friends, I need to reduce my self-love. The reason this is so critical is because it's a tool for me to get out of feeling just myself and feeling that huge reality, which I'm not feeling at the moment. It's like changing my skin. So this is a very important principle a lot of people don't understand, because we feel that we need to love ourselves even more. Okay, we have, because many teachings also say you should love yourself. Okay, but our nature is already self-love. The thing with this is, the love of others can actually give me a new perception of reality, because it allows me to get out of my own self. It's like in the Matrix, you take the red pill, or the red or the blue? Okay, the red or the blue pill, right? So if you take the right pill, if you reduce your self-love, what you begin to see is the truth, and not the theater that's laid out in front of you. This is why love, although seems like love is like a word that everybody's using it for all kinds of things, but we need to understand that it's actually a tool that allows a person to perceive a new reality. Okay, this is why it's important. So don't take it lightly. It's the only tool we've got actually to get out of ourselves. Okay, so I should nullify myself, my self-love, and that I should increase the love for the friends. How are we going to help each other? What did Rabbi say about helping each other? Anyone remember? How can we help each other? Anyone? Oh, Dillies, go for it. Okay.
Raise the spirit of the group.
Exactly. All right. Raise the spirit of the friends. Even if I'm in a bad mood. Raise the spirit of the friends.
I'm quite well at raising friends' spirits, I think.
I think you're all awesome. You did a really good job the other day at the barbecue.
All right, that was all right.
He's obviously quite a blues man.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, raise the spirit of the friends is not just for the friends. Okay, it's very important to understand this. If, let's say, I'm in a bad mood. Okay, let's say I had a bad day. Okay, I had a bad day at work, I had a bad day with the family, I've just had a bad day and I feel like, lousy. If I, on top of that lousy sensation, remember that the only way I can help my friends is to give them a good spirit on our spiritual journey, and I do something to enliven them and give them a good spirit, you'll realize that in return gives you a good mood as well. Because why? It comes back to you. What you give is what you get. Okay, ever heard of reaping what you sow? That's how it is. We always reap what we sow. So the more I'm actually giving to the friends, that good attitude, that friendly attitude, that nice warm attitude, you don't have to be a clown in the group. Just a nice warm attitude, a friendly, lofty, good attitude. And that will actually come back to you many times more, because as one individual, I'm doing that to 10, 15, 20 friends, and then I'm getting 20-fold back when everybody else is doing it as well. So raising the spirit of the friends is very important. And what's the easiest thing you can do? Anyone? Yes, a clown face. Okay, I did say you don't have to be a clown, but a smile, just a smile. Okay, you don't have to do rubber balloons and anything. Just a little smile is good. Okay, and the friends will also smile. Okay, great. So we treat each other with love, respect, the 5 rules of the workshop. Okay, the 5 rules of the workshop are also how we treat each other. We listen to the friends, we nullify ourselves, we see the friends as great because they have a dot in the heart, and that's the way to get to the goal. And we give each other a good mood, and we must always remember that we're all equals. Even if you're new in the group, you're equal with the veterans. Okay, just because you came in a little bit after, it's not like, you know, it's not like coming into the army, you know, like the previous ones are the sergeants and you guys are now starting at the bottom. No, it's not like that at all. We're one bundle of friends inside the group, and we're all equal. And we should understand that that's a very important phenomena for the veterans and for the new people as well. Because in the family, regardless of your age, whether you're a grandmum or whether you're the, you know, smallest child in the family, everybody in the family is important. And this is the attitude we must all have. Everyone in the family is important, and we need to treat everyone nicely and with love and compassion the best way we can. All right? Love, empathy, respect, the right line as we call it, always treating the friends in a nice way, seeing them as great, seeing them as our companions on our path, you know, like going on an adventure trip. You know, like you're going on a rock climbing trip, right? You go on a rock climbing trip and you're all climbing as a team, or you're going diving, you have a diving buddy. Okay, you're always diving in pairs, you've got a diving buddy that helps you out. And we need to see the friends always in that way, that, you know, we're doing something important and they're very critical for us. We're all good with that. Yeah, any dramas? Questions? No, everybody's good. Great. That's that. Now, life, as you all know, has a few bumps along the way. And we need to know how to deal with the bumps, don't we? Okay? So in spirituality, just like in life, we get a few bumps along the way because the road is bumpy, okay? And it's up and down. But if it wasn't so up and down, it wouldn't be so adventurous in the first place. I mean, how are you going to surf if there are no waves, right? So you got to surf and you got to get on the wave, and sometimes you fall off your surfboard, but sometimes you ride it all the way to the beach and you land on the beach and you grab yourself a cold beer and say L'chaim. Okay, so sometimes you have those great days, and sometimes you fall off the wave and you got your ups and downs and so on. So it's a bumpy road sometimes, and we need to know how to deal with it. Now, if everybody in the group is relating to each other in this way, despite any bump that any of us will have, we'll get over it just like that. And I mean just like that. Okay, it's a blink of an eye. If we're all treating each other like this, anyone who has a bad day will get over it just like that. We'll come to the group, come to the Facebook group. Doesn't matter if you have a center or if you have a virtual center. If the guys are there giving you a good mood, they're, you know, sharing things with you, and they're your good buddies, and you feel that they're your good friends, there is no bump you can't overcome. Because immediately from the study, we should understand how we should do the inner work as well. Now, this is the important thing. Inner work. We talked about inner work, as you know. When? In the first semester. You guys remember? Please tell me you remember. This is very important. Okay, inner work is all, our whole work is inner work. Okay? It's very important to understand what's going on with ourselves. Is it hot in here or is it me? Okay. Let's cool down a little bit in the studio. Inner work is how to direct myself. How to direct myself. In thought, action, intention, despite what happens to me on a day-to-day basis. Despite whatever happens to me. Whatever happens, or whatever I go through during the day. Whatever happens in the group, or outside of the group for that matter. In the group, or outside. Okay? Because, yep, it's a bumpy road. Okay? And sometimes we'll have bumps, and we should, because if we don't develop. So what do? What's the first thing we do when we're going through a bumpy road? Okay. What's the sign of going through a bump? Anybody? No? Okay. Go. Yes?
It could be confusion or that you have a feeling that you don't know anything at all anymore.
Yes. Good. Wonderful. Lenny, that's great. Willie, you were going to say something too?
Yeah, just feeling bad. Huh?
Feeling bad. Good. Okay, cool. Anyone?
Don't care.
Okay, yep, not caring. Being, like not caring. Like, I don't care what happens. Yeah, okay. Anyone? Okay, cool. We are feeling beings, right? So there's only two feelings I can really have. A good feeling or a bad feeling. Okay? Life can only bring me two feelings, whether I feel good or whether I feel bad. There's no other option. There is nothing in between. Sometimes we say, I don't feel good or bad, but that's not true, because our nature seeks to feel good. So even if I don't feel good or bad, I'm in the middle somewhere, that's actually feeling bad. Okay? Because our nature wants to be happy. So we can only feel two things, good or bad. So if I'm in a bad feeling, it means I'm having a bad day, right? So how to relate to that? First things first, how am I going to remember the purpose of my life? How am I going to remember how to attain the purpose of my life? How am I going to remember how to carry on, what to do, how to work so that I can move forward towards the meaning of my life? That can only happen if I relate myself to a study framework where I can always remember what I should be doing and what I'm supposed to be attaining. Do you guys now see the importance of the framework? Why the framework is important? Because your framework is the only way that you're constantly going to like churn this thing inside, like chew it all the time. And by doing that, I'm going to have to, when I integrate myself into the study, I'm going to remember a few things about how to deal with certain things. And the most important thing in Kabbalah is when anything happens to me, I really need to start relating to it as if it's coming from the Creator. Right? Anybody heard about the Creator here? Yes? Okay, let's not leave him out. So the first principle is there's none else besides him. Oops, I need to really get to write better. There's none else besides him. Which means that everything that happens to me in my thoughts, in my desires, in my day-to-day life, in my group life, in my spiritual life, in my corporeal life, comes to me from the Creator. I won't remember this principle if I don't study. I won't know how to relate to the things that happen to me if I don't have a study framework that keeps me in this thought, in this approach. This is why the study is very important. Because if I signed up for the gym and I went for a week or two and I made some progress, but I stopped going, then I won't carry on, and that progress is just going to deteriorate. I'm going to go back to square one. So the study of the wisdom of Kabbalah on a framework, in a structural way that is ongoing, is very important, so that I can always remember that everything that's coming to me is from the Creator. And now I have something to do. Because if I don't get conditions and if I don't relate them to the Creator, I've got nothing to do. But I'm getting conditions and I'm relating it to the Creator. Now I can turn my situation and direct it towards the goal. So there is none else besides him is already giving me, oh, okay, I've got a situation now. How am I going to turn this? How am I going to use this as a leverage to advance in my spirituality? Now, not everything finds a solution in life when we say there's none else besides him, because there's none else besides him is not really a slogan, but it's a reminder that I need to make some kind of adjustment with myself so I can direct myself. So the first thing to remember that everything that comes to me is from the Creator. The second thing is I should be thinking, well, what am I supposed to do with it? What to do with it? Right? If it's a corporeal problem, it's not a problem at all. Okay, let's say I have a, God forbid, a health issue, a work issue, I don't know. I have to fix corporeal things according to corporeal systems. So if I'm sick, I go to the doctor. If I'm unemployed, I look for a job. What else can go wrong? If I'm in a traffic jam, I can turn on the lesson and listen to the lesson in the traffic jam. Okay, that's always good. Okay, but corporeal things, I deal with them corporeally. With spiritual things, like what Lenny said, and also, Lenny said, I might be confused, I might not know, and so on. Then I need to understand that I'm in this confusion, in this blurry thing about the study. So what am I going to do with it? The Creator gave me a situation where a state is not settled in me. It's not clear. It's blurry. Well, then I should obviously be turning back to the group. Okay? Turning to the group. Turn to the group.
You know, that's one of the best solutions to anything, is that the friends are there. Sometimes we forget. Sometimes you forget your wallet. You might forget your purse somewhere. You might forget. We forget a lot of things in life. But when you're on the path and you have people around you in your environment, friends, whether you're physical or whether they're virtual friends, but when you have those friends and you have a connection with each other, if they don't see you in a lesson, or if you haven't, they reach out, they check on you, they make sure that you're okay. And one of the most important things is that when you do forget, or when you are bogged down and bothered by outside corporeal things, or even in a spiritual situation, your friends are always there to pick you up, to remind you that, there's everything's coming from above. It all comes from the Creator. And sometimes we forget that. And it takes a real friend. It takes a friend in an environment to remind us of that. And I kind of wanted to stop because Claire asks, is emotional stuff dealt with spiritually?
Actually, it is. And the world doesn't know about it. Our whole psychological system, human psychology cannot be dealt in our corporeal level, actually. This is why they call psychology a science, but that's not really true at all, because it can't really solve any psychological problem. To solve all our psychological, emotional issues, we actually need to go one level higher, which is a spiritual state, so we can understand what we're going through. This is why studying is very important, because the study has an intellectual aspect to it. And then it has a practical, emotional aspect to it, which you can tie together. This is why with the wisdom of Kabbalah is very, very, it's a very thorough wisdom. This is why we can understand the still level of science, like physics, chemistry. We can understand the vegetative level with the, science of botany. We can understand animals, like doctors. Our body is also an animal. They understand how our body works, roughly. Same with the animals, we understand how they work, but we don't understand how our psychology works. We're just baffled. And, if you look at the human society, we're all going nuts. Okay? Why? Because we don't understand what's going on with our psychology. And psychology cannot solve it, but only if we get spiritual, we can solve human psychology. It's always from above downwards. So this is why advancing spiritually is also a great way to start to understand my own psychology, and also understanding social psychology as well. Understanding the society is so much easier when you're advancing spiritually, because you start to understand human nature and you know where they're coming from. It's also very helpful in your day-to-day lives as well, at work, in your day-to-day interactions with other people on the outside, because you can, you understand human nature. You all of a sudden know where they're coming from before they're even coming at you. They're walking towards you, you already know that they want something. Okay, it's a desire to receive, guys. He wants something or she wants something. Easy, you got everybody figured out already. Oh, there you go. Anything else that you want to say?
I think that right there was our only one that wrote in.
Okay, so we must remember that everything comes from the Creator, and it's only coming, everything comes to us in order to direct us towards the goal. So so we shouldn't be thinking like, oh, I'm having a bad day because I did this, or I'm having a bad life because in my previous life I did something bad to somebody. Don't think any of those stuff. There's only one thing, there's only one reason for things coming at us, and that's the Creator, like giving us a little bit of guidance here and there to move us towards the goal. The only way to advance towards the goal is by sticking my head into the study. So if I'm slack, if I'm slack in my spiritual advancement, if I'm not where I should be at, what do you think the Creator is going to do? Yeah, he's going to stick a needle in my bum, so I'm going to move. That's what he's going to do. Okay? Just like any parent does when kids fall back in school. They give them a little push. They give them a little bad talk. Don't they? Why? Because otherwise the kid's going to fall back. So when anything bad happens in life, we got to immediately remember the Creator is sending me a message that I've got to get back into the group and start moving forward. It's like, whipping the, how do you call it? It's like whipping the ox on the field, right? In the old days, they used to sow the fields with the oxes, and somebody would whip them. Otherwise, the ox doesn't want to move. Why should he? He just wants to sit there. So somebody has to whip the ox to sow the, to plow the land. Same here. Okay, if we don't move forward, the Creator is going to have to pinch us. Why? Because He has a goal of getting us into perfection. And if we don't, if we don't follow through, we're actually stopping everybody else as well. Now think about this. It's very important. It's not that the Creator doesn't like us, but the whole of humanity is one big humanity. And there's a lot of people in there. Okay? All 7 billion of them. 7 billion. Now let's say let's say this is our group. Okay, let's say this is Bnei Baruch. Let's say I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing in correcting myself. That means I am pretty much shooting everybody else in the foot. First of all, I'm shooting myself in the foot, but I'm actually stopping and slowing down the whole of humanity. Does that make sense? Imagine us as one body, right? One body. Let's say I have a pain in my liver, and my mind says, no, let's watch the football game. Why should I go to the doctor now? It's my team playing. Okay? And next morning, I end up dead. All right? This is the kind of thing that happens. I'm supposed to do something smart, logical, because I've got a pain. I should get it checked out. Okay? And I'm like, hey, let's watch, what else are they watching? Let's watch a TV series. I don't know, whatever. Okay? Who cares about our liver? Give it another half an hour. So that kind of stuff I'm talking about. The whole of humanity is one body, and the Creator is not going to look at us individually and say, oh, you know what, I'll make an exception with you and I'll give you a nice life while everybody else can suffer. No, if I'm not putting my weight in, if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be, if I'm not where I should be at, He's going to push, and you're going to feel bad. You're going to feel it, okay? And that is the solution. There's none else besides Him, and I've got to now put some weight in. Okay. How I'm going to do that? I'm going to do it through the group. And what is the group? Well, the group is just this, isn't it? What are we doing in the group? That's what we're doing. We're practical work in the group. We're studying to correct ourselves. To correct ourselves. Okay? And that's what we're doing. So if I don't correct myself, I'm stopping everybody else. I'm actually causing harm to the whole system, causing a harm to myself. So the Creator says, no can do, sorry, you're responsible for everyone. Just like you don't go and stick your hand into the fire and burn yourself knowingly, consciously, because you understand that the fire is going to burn your hands, you shouldn't be stalling the spiritual development of the rest of the planet.
Abdul is asking, what is the relationship between psychology and mysticism in all these explanations?
There isn't any. If we knew anything about our psychology, we wouldn't be nuts on the planet. You see, the whole world's going crazy. Everybody, there's wars, there are rapes, there are people killing everybody. You know, every day you look at the news, somebody's shooting somebody. It was at the another tragic news in the U.S. in Tennessee. Was some waffle guy, somebody shooting people at the waffle shop, Waffle House. Another person's somewhere in Asia, butchering a bunch of other people. In another country, some dictator killing people, I don't know, his own people somewhere in Africa. The whole world's gone nuts. Look at the Middle East; it's just a wreck.
And do you think that that too comes from the Creator, correct?
Everything comes from the Creator, guys. The reason the world is bad is because we're bad. If we understood our human state, we wouldn't be warring, because we'd understand we've got a problem here. But we don't understand why, because we don't understand the purpose of life properly. So we need to get ourselves aligned to where the Creator wants to take us, instead of where we think we should be going according to our own head. And the whole idea of this is a group of people who have a dot in the heart needs to do this. Because if you don't have a dot in the heart, a person without a dot in the heart doesn't have a free choice. What choice can he have? If I'm just a desire to receive pleasure, I don't have a free choice. I'm just running around all day subconsciously looking where I can get more fulfillment. But if I have a point in the heart, I've got an option. Say, listen, I can either go after my desires or I can go after the purpose of life. That's the dilemma. You make the wrong choices, then the Creator says, listen, you made the wrong choice. So you get a little slap in life. And then you start to think about your freedom of will. Oh, and then you think, freedom of choice, yep, it's in the environment. Guys, please tell me you remember these lessons from the first semester, because I'm really heartbroken if you don't. Okay, yes, freedom of choice can only happen if I'm between two opposite factors. My desire to receive pleasure and my desire to attain spirituality. They are one of the opposite ends. And if I am only between them, I have freedom of choice. Anyone whose dot in the heart has not awakened has no freedom of choice. He's a desire to receive pleasure, running around on the planet, looking for ways to be happy and fulfilled. That's it. And this is how they live their lives and end up in a graveyard, just like a regular animal does. But this is not their fault. It's not their fault. Okay, this is a system that's functioning. So when a person has a freedom of choice and doesn't use it, it's like your kid has an option to study or to be lazy, and you've got to sort him out. And this is exactly what the Creator does. He sorts us out. So if you're having a bad day, if you're going through some crisis, the first thing to do is turn to the environment that can elevate you above those issues, so that you can have an understanding as to where it's all coming from and why it's coming at you. Why? Because when you're feeling bad, you won't remember. When you're feeling bad, you're just feeling bad. Your head doesn't function. Guys, remember the days when you felt bad, you're just going, okay? Nobody knows what to do with themselves on those days. Okay, so you need the friends to remind you. This is why we need an environment. So the friends need to say, hey, you look really awful today. I'm having a bad day. Oh, you know it's from the Creator, right? Oh, now Why didn't you guys say so before? Well, you should have come in a bit earlier and we would have told you. Okay, instead of waiting for a week out there. Okay, so this is very important. Freedom of choice lies in the choice of environment, and our environment is this, where we study together. Okay, we study together, we eat together, we have gatherings together, dissemination together, and we have other activities together, and all of that we need to arrange through the study and have a right approach in our thoughts, in our actions, and in our intentions according to the teaching of Kabbalah. So my actions towards the group need to be like we discussed here, okay? And my thoughts should be directed to there's none else besides him. And my intention should be towards to attain the meaning of life. So from the beginning, I know which direction I'm taking with my intention, and my thoughts and actions should be inside the group directed towards that all the time. Very easy, right? It's really easy to do spiritual work in this group. Really, it's 1, 2, 3, and it's very logical. Right? Just like in real life, if I have a goal in real life, let's say I want to attain something in real life, my intention is to, let's say, attain, I don't know, $1 million. So what do? I make a to-do list, right? In order to get this $1 million, I'm going to do this, 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 and I should get this. Along the way, of course, I'm going to have problems and dramas, but I don't see them as problems and dramas. I see them as opportunities to getting closer to what I want to get to. Same in spirituality, no difference.
Our friend Willie had his hand up here. He wanted to ask a question. Willie, can you ask Mutlu?
Yes. I just have the following in my head. Am I correct in saying that the only thing that we can do wrong is our intention?
Freedom.
Is that the thing that is wrong? Intention?
No. Our intention will develop, will change, will take forms of different sorts as we develop in spirituality. Right now, what we should focus on, all of us, should focus on our freedom of will, where our freedom of choice is. Whether I want to develop spiritually and choose an environment for that, or whether I want to use my spare time to do other things where it's not helpful for my spiritual development. Now, we have to understand that there is a worldly life that we lead. So we have to work, we've got family which we need to take care of, we have to work to pay our bills and so on. These things we do, all right? But after you take care of your normal necessities for life, if you have some spare time, that's where your freedom of choice comes in. I have, let's say, I don't know, depending on your situation, let's say you have an hour a day free. Okay, so you decide what you want to do. You know, do you want to come to the morning lesson? Do you want to come to the afternoon lesson? Do you want to watch a lesson in your spare time? Do you want to read something? Do you want to, you know, contribute to the growth of the group and the friends by doing something? You got to plan yourself out, and that's an individual plan that you must do yourself. Okay, nobody can tell you, you know, this is how you're going to study. No, a person has to grow from within and from without through the things that he or she does with her own will and choice, so she can develop from those states. So freedom of choice is the important thing for us. Our intention, don't worry about the intention. If you keep on your mind what you want to attain and start working towards that, you'll see that your intention is always going to get sharper as we study. The important thing for us is the freedom of choice, the environment where I can develop spiritually in my spare time after I've, you know, taken care of my necessities in life. Don't forsake your life's necessities for spirituality. You must take care of your worldly matters like work, family, health. You need to take care of those things, okay? And afterwards, when you have spare time, that spare time is your calculation as to whether you want to put it towards spirituality or something else. So be mindful. I don't want you going now, leaving everything in life and studying Kabbalah 24/7. Okay, it's not right. All right, so I think we are 6 minutes over time. I was having such a great time. But guys, I just want to ask one more time. Are we all clear about this concept? All right, our framework, why we need it and why it's necessary, how we need to treat the friends, why that needs to be this way, and how we need to relate to everything that happens in our lives so we can have a clear-cut direction. Are these three fundamental things very clear? If not, as we study, they will get clearer, but at least you must have a little foundation, even if it's a little dodgy, all right? If not, please review this lesson again. It is very important for all of us, okay? Not just for new people, for everyone it's important, because as days go on with the ups and downs, we'll forget many things, we'll remember them, blah, blah, blah. We're going to go through things, but at least have these things as a foundation so where we can start off. Now, next week, very, very important lesson next week, okay? Why? Because you're going to meet the coordinators, all right? So Judith, wave your hand, let's see Judith. Judith is there. Okay, lovely Judith. Now, she's going to invite all the European coordinators next week, so they'll be joining us live. Okay, so both guys from Petah Tikva as well, right, Judith? Any coordinator from Petah Tikva as well, they must meet. Okay, very important. And also we're going to have the African coordinators here as well from the Petah Tikva group. They're going to be here. You're going to be meeting. Actually, we might have them live next week. What do you think? Okay, we'll bring Ian and Johnny. Ian is in Jerusalem. He might not make it, but we'll bring Johnny in.
Johnny's in London, but he should be back.
He should be back. Yeah. Okay. So we'll try to invite them as live as well from BB Petah Tikva for Africa. And also, you let us know for anyone who's responsible for the European groups who are in Petah Tikva. Okay. So everybody should know them. Why? Because you're going to need your coordinators for any queries, any guidance, and any questions that you might have. Okay? You need to understand that the whole system flows here from Bnei Baruch Petah Tikva towards the groups. So every group has a Petah Tikva coordinator, and all of you should know them. If you've got a question, query, you need to ask something or anything that you know, anything. All right?
You just said she wants Johnny for the UK since she's already in London.
Okay, there you go.
Wait, one more thing, very, very important. Could you do me a favor? Could you please post the email address for anyone who wants to continue after next week's course and wants to join a group? There are 2 email addresses. One is for the European students. The other one is going to be for the African students.
Africa and Middle East.
For the European students, it's contact@kabacademy.eu. Judith has also posted it here in the Zoom chat, so you can look down there and see. And for everyone in the Middle East and Africa, the email is going to be bbafrica1, O-N-E, not the number 1, but O-N-E, at gmail.com. I'm going to post it right now.
bbafrica1 at gmail. So if you still haven't written, okay, to join a group, you must write, because we can't take anyone in if they don't want to come in. Okay, in spirituality, there's no coercion. Only a person who wants to come and study, we can take in. All right, otherwise it's pressure.
And when you write in, please send us your name, contact information, your country, so that way we can know what group that we can put you in, and we can get you up and going after this this next class. We have one more class left, correct?
Mm-hmm. So our last class is next Tuesday. Very, very important for all of us to be there, okay? All right, lovely friends, dearest friends. We're going to see you all next week. Take care of yourselves. Stay with love. All the best. And until next week, take care. Bye now.